So we'll go over going to one of my favorite data websites, which if you go to the syllabus, uh, is one of the ones that's listed at the bottom of the syllabus. So we're going to go through and get some data online, and then bring it into ArcMap, and then symbolize it really quickly, and then make a map, just so I can talk about the layout, the things on a layout that I most commonly use. So there's a website called Natural Earth Data, naturalearthdata.com. And you can go, and this is great, it's all free GIS data. And you can kind of pick your scale. We'll make a national map, so it doesn't really matter which one we pick. We could just pick the medium scale, and since I'm going to go look for state boundaries, and that's cultural and not physical. Like physical would be like mountains or like rivers. Cultural would be stuff that humans decided. So I'm going to get admin 1 states and provinces, which since it's for the world, admin 1 just means admin 0 is countries, admin 1 is states, and admin 2 is the counties in the U.S., but in other countries they do it differently after a state. The geography just keeps getting smaller. So we're going to go download states and provinces. Oh, I like it without large lakes. So download without large lakes. This is going to have removed all the land that is like coincident with a large lake. So the Great Lakes are removed, which is cool. So we're going to, luckily we have a nice data folder to put things in. I don't, but well. Excuse me. All right. So I put that in a folder, and then I'm going to go to that folder and put that into my map. So it's weird. Apparently these are the only countries in that data set. All right, well, we only wanted the US, so that's fine, I guess. I'm just going to do a definition query for just the US. And I'm going to check the table to see which field tells me it's the US. All right, GUA3, or Geo unit says United States of America, so I can filter out based on that. So I'm going to say what the heck? Oh, there it was. Geo unit US. Okay. It's harder than it should have been. So one thing to mention, and the chapter kind of touched on it, is that if you're making a map, you're going to want to use a projection. And a projection is just the thing that makes a, like when you take the globe and you put it on a flat map, it's the thing that makes it so it can go from round to flat. And it's just kind of an abstraction of like roundness to flatten it on a page. Like if you imagine if you had a ball you're trying to flatten it on a page, you would actually need a way to kind of distort it a bit to make it actually fit on a map. And the way we can set those is if you go to the properties of the data frame, which is this little layers button, and you right click on it and say properties, or like I usually do, I just double click on it. We can go to coordinate system, and for a US map, there's one you want to use, and then for other countries, there's one you want to use. Most of the time, you know, if you're making a US map or kind of a regional map, you want to use the USA contiguous Albers equal area conic, and I can remind you of that once you get there. You'll know that you have that one on for a US map when you see this line is all straight right here. That's actually a bad projection. That's actually kind of a it's not really representing the space of the US very well, and it you'll kind of know what I mean after I turn this on. But if you watch that line and I turn it on, you can now see it's curved, and that's how you can tell if you look at a US map, like if somebody who doesn't really you know, is more beginner style, right? So like if you always want to, if you ever make a US map, just pick the USA contiguous Albers equal area conic, and it's the best one. There's a ton more I could say about this, but it's kind of not what we're talking about today, so I'm trying to like be as general as possible. I want to add, so if we were going to do Canada, there's one that's North America Albers equal area conic, which a lot of people use for US, but it's not as good. And if you use that, it's good for Canada. But if you wanted to search, you could say Canada in the search box. And it'll come up with a projected coordinate system, and you could look and say, all right, so there's some for continental, so North America. So that one's a specific Canada one, but NAD is like North America datum. So then there's also national grids, which the country of Canada, I think, would have made. No. So these are UTM is like a military projection system. We could talk about at some point. We can see there's a whole bunch. Quebec, Lambert, like these are all interesting. I don't know what most of this is. Oh, and then polar, of course, like so that would be like from the north down, like one of those. You know, if you ever see those maps of the Arctic, and it kind of is like a circle. It's just because most maps don't start there. It looks kind of funny. So, but if I was going to do Canada, North American Albers, or I guess Canada Albers equal area conic would be the best one. I just remember there's a North America one because if you want to have the US and Canada, then that's a good one for it. The whole thing is like, these projections try to get the roundness to be as accurate as possible when it goes flat. So, you know, you can imagine like, in order to make it as accurate as possible, you try to get the exact center point of the map to be the center point of what you're looking at, or the center point of the projection to be exactly what you're looking at, or what you want to make a map of, right? Because like if the center point of this was on Europe, you know, you could see what happens to it. That's what happens on Europe, right? Like it's like very weird. It's not meant for U.S. But if I scrolled over to Europe, you know, it would look fine. So it's kind of a funny thing. And then whenever you use one that you like, just put it in your favorites. And then you have your favorites, and I have my USA, and I have a WGS, and whatever. And then I have the main state plane one. There's only 3 I use out of like thousands of them. So anyway, if I was going to make a nice state kind of color, I like just light gray, you know. Even sometimes this gray is too dark, actually, and you can go and say more colors, and then switch this to HSV, and then it's only 88%, but if you change it to like 95, then it's a better gray, because it's actually light gray. Like the other gray is like actually like a little bit darker. Anyway, I think I mentioned at one point you shouldn't use just straight black. Just try to use the darker gray for lines and things. Anyway, that's what it would look like. So today we're just talking about a layout, really. But in the exercise, you'll be doing that symbology stuff. So let's just for the sake of making a legend in a second, let's make a category map of maybe a different color for each state. Or let's see, actually. Oh, maybe we can do regions. Let's see what's in the data. Oh, yeah, we can. All right, so region West, South, Midwest. This will be cool. So we're just going to do categories on region. And we have 4 regions in the U.S. If you don't like the colors it starts off with, you can get a new random mix by repicking that color ramp. So it rejiggered it, and that looks okay. I don't like brown, though, so I'm going to change that one, I guess. Make it nice and bright. Okay, so right, we're gonna make a map out of this, and we're gonna have a legend, and we're gonna have scale bar, put a title on it, you can put some sources on it, and we're gonna make it a nice page size. So first thing to notice is that we're in the data view, and we want to get in the layout view. So we can click on the little button down here, and this really is the only way you can get between the two, and it's the 2 smallest buttons on the page. I always found that to be kind of funny. So you'll almost always know you're in the layout view because you can see the edge of the page, but that's not necessarily true, because if you zoom in a lot, which you would do by using your layout toolbar, it now looks exactly like you're on the data page. Like you don't see the edges of the page. So sometimes it's hard to tell. So you will have to like if you notice that you start panning around and it's doing funny things, you might be in layout view. But you can tell for sure by looking down here, layout or data. So for a US map, and all maps, you kind of want to look at it and think about what your map's going to look like in the end, right? Like, are you making in this case, let's make an 8.5 by 11, which is a regular letter size map of the U.S. But like, it doesn't look very good. What they call portrait, which is lengthwise, it's taller than it is wide. It would look better if it was landscape, so wider than it is tall. So we can flip that by going into and we can flip that, and we can also change the size of the page. Like say we wanted to make a big poster, we would set that in the same spot. So we go to File, Page and Print Setup, and we can just switch to Landscape. You can see it gives you a little preview here. And if we wanted to change the size of the page, we could uncheck that and say, make this 36 by 48, like 3 by 4 feet, and make this huge canvas, basically. So when I do that, you can see my page size changed, but my data frame, as they call it, which is the kind of the window showing what's on the map, didn't change. So we have to change that ourselves, which you can take your drawing toolbar, which the 2 we're going to really use for this are layout and draw. Maybe this other one called graphics. So we're going to take the pointer. On a layout, you do a lot with the pointer that's on the draw toolbar. So you click on it, and then what I do is I take it and I make it so the bottom left portion is right at the corner. So down here, put it right at the corner, and then I take the top right and I move this to the other corner, and now it's like fit in the page. So now I only had to make 2 moves. I see people moving that around all the time. It's just like kind of annoying. It can get really annoying. Once I do that, now I see I'm like, well, the U.S. is now far away, so I want to make it so it's a little bit closer. So I would, and this is kind of one of the first like brain pretzel of like ArcMap is like when you're working on a layout page, you kind of have to think about 2 things. One is the page that you're working with, which is how you would mess with that with the layout toolbar. But then let's say I want to zoom in on the US, right? You can't use this zoom in to zoom in on the US because you'll zoom in on the page. So if you ever want to go backwards, you can just hit the back button on the layout for here, and you'll see it has a little page behind it to kind of remind you that it's like we're working with the actual page. And but if you want to do it on the data, you use this tools like you have a zoom in with a page behind it, and you have a zoom in without a page behind it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the zoom in without a page, and we're going to zoom in on the US. So that takes a minute to actually do yourself before it makes like full sense. So if you find yourself struggling with that, just let me know. Okay. So once you do that, typically on a US map, you have some space in the bottom left and in the top right, and you have space for a title because it's nice and curved like that. But depending on what you're making a map of, you're going to have different negative space, right? Which is what the chapter talked about, which is like different for every map. So like the spots you're going to put your title and your legend and all that crap is going to change for every map. So we're going to add all that stuff in. I guess I would say one of the things that you could do, that typically we would do, is we'd add one of those extra maps from the GIS servers, ArcGIS servers. And let's do National Geographic, because I know their ocean looks pretty good, I think, if I remember right. Yeah, so that looks cool. And we could, there's a way if we bring it into PowerPoint, we can change the background map to be black and white, but you can't do that here. That's one of my, actually maybe in the latest. Oh, I wish I could do that. No, they still haven't fixed that. But anyway, since this is both blue, then I probably want to change blue to a different color. And then that purple, actually, we have lighter colors. Actually see the borders, but now those are too similar. That's not gonna work. There we go. All right. But just to point, I spend a lot of time flipping between colors. Like if you're not thinking you're spending too much time on colors, you're probably not spending enough time on colors because it's always surprising how long it takes. And if I was really going to do it, I would go to that color brewer site I showed you guys last time and pick a RGB that was good, or an RGB that worked well together. So I guess let's just go check it out, right? You'll see in this case we just have 4 colors that are qualitative, right? And we have 4 qualitative colors. So we could pick, oh, why is it giving me 5? Oh, okay, so here it's going to give me the 4 that work for that. So that's good 4, right? Like, see how hard, it was hard for me to come up with 4 that actually work together. But if I flip through this, I can be, pretty obvious that what's good. And then I can tell it, all right, make it colorblind friendly and show me what it looks like with labels on it. All right, this is the only one that's colorblind friendly, is the blue-green. Interesting. Okay, so then I would change this to RGB, and I would pull these RGB values, and I would go in to here, and I would type those numbers in to get super nice colors. You'd be surprised how quickly your map looks professional. Tori, looks like you have a question.
I'm just confused why blue and green was the only kind of one that works for colorblind when you can use blue and green colorblind.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how colorblindness really works. I know that.
I mean, I don't either. I just know that blue-green is a type of colorblindness that you can have, so that just seems counterintuitive.
But does that mean it like nearsighted you can see far things? Is that like you can see blue-green?
I mean, I googled it and it's showing a picture of the map, like the Earth with green on it, and then a picture where all the green is the same color brown as the other browns on the.
All
I
right.
don't know. Maybe because they're different shades, it works. Or
Let's just say if you're making a map for the public, you should think about it maybe. I've never gotten dinged for that though, but maybe that's because colorblind people can't tell that they're missing something. It's interesting. Yeah, I know, right? They probably compensate in other ways. No, I'm kidding. I don't know why it was like that, but I bet you they could tell. That's pretty clear difference, but anyway. All right, so we got some colors. You can make this background a little bit more transparent. So if I double into the properties of it and go to advanced, you can make it like 40% transparent. The weird thing is you can hit apply to have it go, but I guess I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so now onto the map. Zoom in on this guy. So we're going to add a title, and we'll do that first. Most of the stuff we're going to add is going to come from the drawing toolbar. It's kind of like this long one here. You can basically, if you want to draw a shape, you can click on the rectangle. If you want to draw text, you can just click on the A. And then if you want to do different types of rectangles or text, you can click on the little arrow next to this, and it will give you a whole bunch of options. For the title, I guess I'm just going to guess this is going to do what I want to do, which is like the rectangle text. I guess I'll show you. This is the way I usually do it. I would put text on the map. Regions of the USA. It's going to start off too small, so I'm going to click on it again. And then I can set the size using the same toolbar. I want to have it be big and centered up there. If you really want to have it centered, you can, since this is 11 inches wide and you can see the ruler up here. By the way, if you don't have a ruler, let me know. We can add it on there. Since 11 inches wide, that would be 5.5 inches would be the center. So you can click on it, and that's at 5.5 inches, that line. So it just added a line. They call these guidelines for like the ruler. So it locks it too at the center of my text box. You can see how it's not moving until I get pretty far away. It snaps. So that can be helpful. Sometimes you want to add text, but then you want to have a box behind it to cover up what's on the map, so you can just add a rectangle and draw it around the text. And then, of course, it covers up the text. So what I would typically do is, first of all, make it a white box. And then I would right-click on it and send it and do order, send back, or maybe just send backward. Yep, and that put it behind the text. So a lot of GIS is thinking about the layers of things, right? So there's going to be layers on your map. Like as you can see, the U.S. states are on top of the map and the back. We could very easily change that by putting that one on top. Actually looks kind of neat. Huh, maybe we'll keep it like that. Anyway, you can change the order of things on your data view, which would be on the left, and you can change the order of things on your layout. So sometimes you'll make something that's really neat, and you'll cover it up, and then you'll think it's gone, and it can be kind of frustrating. All right, so that would be a title. If you add a title and text and you want to make sure they stay together, you can click on one, and then you can hold shift, you can click on the other, and then you can group them. If you right click and say group, and now they're just one thing. I did notice in the last class some people didn't know, if you hit Control Z, it will undo whatever you just did. So like the way that I moved that, and I'm like, darn it, I had it perfect. I just hit Control Z and it moves back. And it goes for like everything on a Windows computer. Control Y redoes it, but Control Z is the most important. So if you make a mistake, it's either Control Z or it's click the blue back button on one of these toolbars here. And that will get you back, the back button on the tools menu will get you back to where you were just looking on your data view, your previous view. You can see, so the last time we moved that, it was looking like that. And so then we can go forward again and go back to the one. So you can kind of flip around for any session of all the different things you've looked at. And then for your layout, it'll just zoom to where you were last time. And then I guess I'd also mention there's an undo on this other toolbar here that will, if you remove a layer from your table of contents and you really didn't want to remove that layer, you can undo that and it will put it back. So there's 4 ways to undo different things in it. But just know, if you do something and you're like, I think I just lost the whole thing and I got to redo something, you can probably undo that. So anyway, let's add a legend. All right. Actually,